This is How to Think. This is How to Think.
Hey everybody, Dan Henry here. Welcome to the How to Think podcast, the show where we dissect the inner workings of the human mind and learn how to achieve anything in business or in life by changing the way we think. We bring on some amazing entrepreneurs, authors, thought leaders, and people that just know how to think and get stuff done. And today we have an amazing guest, Amanda. How you doing, Amanda Holmes?
Oh, I can't wait. It's such a good intro.
Thank you so much. So real quick, I'll do, I'm not much for intros, right? But, you are the CEO of Chet Holmes International, and Chet Holmes is your father, who wrote, of course, one of the most amazing sales books ever, The Ultimate Sales Machine, the originator of what a lot of people now use quite a bit to grow their company, the Dream 100.
Yes.
And all that jazz, all that cool stuff and to be fair, you took over the company at 24.
Yes.
And you doubled sales year after year. We're going to get into all that. But the first question that I have to ask you is, did you play all the instruments on When Grapes Turn into Wine?
No.
You didn't. Okay,
But
well, you
I'm
definitely
impressed.
sang. You definitely sang.
I
which
wrote
was
the
beautiful.
song,
It was
yeah.
You wrote the song. You played it. So I'm a guitar player. You know that we talked about that before we went live, and I listened to it. I thought it was great. Good production. Did you play? Other than vocals? Did you do anything on it?
No.
Well, you wrote the
At
whole
that
thing. That's
time-
pretty darn good.
Well, I was a gymnast first, and then my junior year of high school, I thought, oh, maybe I'll do singing. And then by senior year, I already had my first record. And then in college, I had 4 records. But all of the people around me were like amazing musicians. I went to USC's Thornton School of Music. So it's like top. You either go to NYU or you go to USC or Berklee School of Music. So they were the best. And I looked around and went, I've only been doing this 2 years. I think this might be good if you guys play and I'll just sing and write.
Well, that's fair. That's like knowing your role,
Knowing
where
your
you fit,
lane.
knowing staying in your lane.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, let's go back to, because a lot of people, have read this book, which is again an amazing book. And I also believe a lot of people haven't read it and they've heard of it. You know how many people they say, I'm going to read a book, and then that book becomes a paperweight.
Yes.
But a lot of people do know what the Dream 100 is. Which, do you want to play a game?
Absolutely.
Let's play a game. Okay. so I'm going to explain to you what I think the Dream 100 is, based on my limited understanding and what probably most people understand it as.
Oh, this is fun.
Very, very like primal, very simple version. And then you're just going to tell me how stupid I am and how wrong I had it. And that I'm going to get amazing value out of that. Trust me. So and by the way, before I get into this, I think a lot of people need to know your company has trained over 240,000 CEOs. And the main, I know you guys help with a lot, but the main thing is to increase sales.
Yes. 12 core competencies on doubling sales. 12
core on doubling sales. And would you say one of them is the Dream 100, or at least
Yes.
that's one of them is the Dream 100?
Yep.
Okay. So let me sort of see if I can jump into this. Okay. So the Dream 100 is where you find somebody that you want to sell to, usually a big fish, right?
Yep.
You just like, maybe it's the CEO of a company or whatever, and you research them and you figure out what they're into. Maybe they're into fishing, maybe they're into Marvel, I don't know, whatever. And then you send them this really amazing gift. It's either going to be really expensive or really thoughtful, or both. And you get their attention because nobody opens a letter, but they always open a package. And they look at the gift. Maybe it's a laptop, and then when they open it up, you're like, hey, whatever. And then they go, well, who the hell sent me this shit? And then they look at it, and it opens up the conversation. And if you're clever enough, you can at least establish contact with somebody that you normally could never get past the gatekeeper. Am I somewhat on the same, somewhat in the ballpark?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's essentially, I mean, obviously there's a fine art to it.
Okay, so it's the fastest, least expensive way to double sales because there's always a smaller number of better buyers than there are all buyers. So marketing and selling to them is cheaper than marketing and selling to all buyers. So how do you find that dream? My father called it the Dream 100. It could be the Dream 1.
Sure.
I just recently saw a client of ours. They were at 60 million. They had 950 clients that produced that 60 million, but 969 clients, 950 of which produced only 9% of their revenue. So 13 of their clients produced 91% of their revenue. So instead of going after another 900, they only led an intensive effort to one client, and that one client produced them $100 million.
The big fish.
And they double sales with one client.
Oh. And that comes back to using the right bait and being in the right waters.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. You did a good job of picking out some of the great things about it. So my father did it with lumpy mail, and that's kind of progressed over time.
Yeah.
There's also ways to do it on social. There's also ways to, right? Just being the bright spot in their day, adding value, being something of interest to them. So lumpy mail is one of those ways that we do that.
So I actually, you know Russell Brunson, he invited me last year to speak at his conference, FHL.
Okay.
And so I got to speak in front of like, I don't know, whatever it was, 5,000 to 6,000 people. And of course, a bunch of people bought my stuff.
Awesome.
We probably did at least $2 million from that. So I was like very thankful. So I was thinking to myself, well, I don't know how I stumbled into this where he asked me to speak, but I was like, I never sent him a Dream 100 gift. So I was like, let me retroactively do that because I don't think anybody does that. So I got him a Yoda, a life-size Yoda, because I know he's super into Star Wars. His kids are super into Star Wars. So this was like right after this was Corona. So it was like, it took forever to get this freaking Yoda over to him. And they accidentally shipped it to me first. So they shipped it to me. So then I like I got to like deal with that. And it's like this freight thing at my house. And so I put like a little note in, and I bought like russellsyoda.com, and I was just like, listen, this is just me saying retroactively Dream 100ing you and saying thank you for letting me speak at your stage because it made a lot of money. So I sent him that, and I just thought he was very grateful. But I just thought I was like, oops, I probably should have sent him some first. And because I go back to that book, and I'm like, well, let me see if I can correct this. So
I love that story. That's so good. But it's also interesting. So my father, when he originally did it, he wanted to spend the least amount of money possible. Like he would get the stupidest little like $1. I remember the day he found orientaltrading.com. You can order lots of random like a Rubik's
Cube. I remember
Yeah.
that magazine. Be careful though. It's 2021. We may not be able to say that anymore. But no, I remember that magazine. Yeah.
So that year we got 300 presents for Christmas because my dad went on orientaltrading.com and bought the most ridiculous amount of things.
He didn't go cheap on toilet paper, did he?
Oh, he would not buy anything brand, designer, anything. We got knocked. I don't know about toilet paper. He wasn't buying our toilet paper. It was our assistant, huh? But
okay, yeah, because there's some things you don't go cheap on. Heart surgery and toilet paper.
Right, yeah.
Just saying,
So he was always about how do I find the cheapest things. It's just about changing that dynamic. But what it's evolved to now is because we have so much more ability to understand who a person is because they put everything online, now we can get better about giving them something that would really mean something to them because he created it 30 years ago, right? He was doing it 15 years ago. He passed 9 years ago. And between the last 9 years, now we share everything on the internet. So you can be much more tactical about that.
Let me ask you kind of if you don't mind, a somewhat personal question.
Happens all the time. Yes, please.
Look, I remember when I was 24, right? I was driven. I didn't really get really driven until I was like 28. But I was being 24. I was drinking, going out, smoking weed, going to concerts.
Were you at the pizza? You were running the pizza place at that time, or no?
Yeah. I mean, it was cheap weed, but I was going to Seven Dust concerts, and I was hanging out, and I was just being, you know, I mean, I was still trying to build my business. And I didn't really have a business then, but I was still trying to like figure things out. I had a couple businesses that came and went, you know, but I was being 24. I got started a little late. I wasn't that like 18-year-old kid who's like, I'm going to be a millionaire. Like I said that, but it was like, yeah, I'll be a millionaire. But I wasn't really putting the effort in. At 24, to take over not just a company, but a legendary company, a company that, I mean, you know, it's not Joe Shit the Rags man's freaking lemonade stand. You know, it's Chet Holmes International. Yeah. Legendary. I mean, how did you feel filling those shoes quickly like that and stepping into that role? Or were you already kind of in that, you know, or did you like hop off the party bus and go right into the, right into it?
I was never so good at partying, huh? I was very focused always, but I was a musician at that point. So my father got diagnosed with leukemia, and he didn't spend one night in the hospital alone for a year and a half. It was between me, my mother, and my brother, and he would have night sweats, so we'd be up all night with him. And all of that year and a half, never once did he sit me down and say, these are my companies. This is what they do. These are the people that run them. This is what I want for my companies, right? None of that. We were just spending time together.
Spending time together.
Yeah. And there was no plan for that whatsoever. Like, I'm sure my dad, if he were still here, he'd be like, you did what? It'd be pretty odd.
So he didn't even expect you to do this?
No. There was no plan for it.
Did you just kick the door down and say, listen, motherfuckers?
Not at all.
Amanda's in charge now.
Well, I have to. It puts things in perspective, because for a year and a half, every day was, Chet's gonna die. This is what's going on. You know, it was life or death every day in the hospital with him, and trying to find an alternative for him. So that was my context to then coming into
your
this.
Focus was.
Right. Yeah. Well. So when things got even as difficult as they were, I'm like, at the end of the day, nobody is dying. Like, our business, like, the worst that could happen was that I lost my father. Like, that to me was the worst. So that had already happened. So whatever happens here, we can work it out, right?
Now, hold on a second. That's an amazing way to think about it.
It's an important thing.
I think a lot of people, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're authors, whether they're thought leaders, whether they want to be a sports star, whether they want to be a famous music, whatever it is, if they want to achieve some sort of success, they, you know, a lot of times it's all about the meaning that we associate with events, how we define events and how we redefine events. So, you know, you being able to, another person may completely have a different definition of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you gave it a definition that ended in a positive result. I mean, how important do you think that is?
Absolutely. So I had looked to hire 3 different CEOs. I hired CMOs, CTOs, CFOs, just trying to fill the void that was my father. I mean, he wasn't working in the day-to-day for years, obviously. It was all the sales team, and there was
he was already out.
Yeah. I mean, he was mostly just the direct reports would report to the CEO, and the CEO would report to my father. So it wasn't like anything would really change. It was just like as if a body no longer had a heart. It was just void of that founder, right? So I'm trying to find all these different pieces to fill that hole. And I actually climbed Kilimanjaro. I went on this CEO retreat where it was
mountain?
Like, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, now I feel inferior. My best story is like, you know, going on a brisk walk.
No, I'm sure you have great stories.
Not on Kilimanjaro.
So it was one of my staff. We were at an event, and it was actually at Business Mastery. And he goes, you know, Amanda, I'm about to climb the largest freestanding mountain in the world. It's in Africa. I think you'd actually have a fun time. You should come. And I went, okay.
Just whatever, sure, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get
Light
home
ourselves on fire while we're at it. It's fine.
It's very bizarre. My thoughts were not really quite clear at that time. So Friday I get home. Saturday and Sunday I buy all my equipment because I'd never hiked anything before. Monday I'm in Africa, and the first 2 days I am literally dying, because it turns out that what's difficult about climbing is that people that smoke cigarettes, they have an easier time because your ability to breathe is restricted.
Wow.
Yeah. So Olympic athletes could have a hard time with altitude sickness because they're not used to not having breath. Whereas you look at me, my background, I was a singer. So I learned breath control like massively, right? I'm certified yoga instructor. So I know breath so much.
I wonder how many mountain climbers are going to start smoking now that they've heard this. I'm just kidding.
I'm sure they know it. I mean, you really have to practice it. So I was terrible from day one. I could barely get up that freaking mountain. And I shared, we were around a campfire the second night, and I go, guys, I hate to break it to you, but I've realized that I hate hiking.
I love how direct you were. It's and in such an eloquent way.
They all looked at me like I was literally crazy because they all had it on their bucket list for years, right? Their lifetime.
They looked at you like you're crazy. The people that are climbing this mountain.
Right.
But you're crazy.
Well, because I hadn't thought it through, and I'm like, I hadn't really thought this through. I realized I hate hiking, and I didn't know how I was going to get up that mountain. Literally, I didn't know how I would do it. So then something clicked in me that I realized, oh, maybe I don't have to hike. Maybe I could just dance because I love to dance, and I love music. I've always been a dancer along with my music.
What kind?
I studied salsa pretty intensively, hip hop. I grew up on hip hop, like 8 years of hip hop. So instead, now I'm sitting there and I'm like, either I change my mind frame about this or I'm going to have to give up, and I will not freaking give up on this, right? So then I start singing. I have this personal...
I'm just imagining you singing and dancing up this mountain, and I just said they were crazy. I retract. I'm just kidding.
Well, no. So I just recently written the song, and it goes, forget the heavy load. So it had a really slow beat, so nobody could tell that I was dancing, but my head was going, and nobody could hear me because I had all these masks on, right, because it was really cold. But I'm singing my song, and I'm moving my head, and this is my mantra, and it got me through the thing.
I'm so wishing I brought a guitar right now, because you have the mic. This
I
is
know.
SM50, and wow, that sounded amazing. Did you sound that amazing when you were going up the mountain?
Absolutely not, no.
Oh man, that's incredible.
But to circle it back, just to finish the point, is that change in my mind frame helped me to come back, and that's when I stepped in as CEO and said, okay, I'm going to do this. That was really a pivotal point because I also couldn't get up alone. I had to have help, 2 African men, one by the name of Donut, that assisted me when my eyes were rolling to the back of my head. I literally couldn't walk. There was a guy that had died that day and was his body was laying on the side of the summit.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. This is what event is this? I'm gonna put it on my do not go list.
Yeah, every time people are I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I would never do that again. But it shifted my belief system around what I could do in my business. So I walked back and said, I didn't walk back. I flew back to the United States. So I said, let's do this. So that was a big point.
So you redefined the problem. You found a way. I can just hear Jeff Goldblum saying, "Life finds a way," and you found a way to get up that mountain by channeling something that you loved. Because would you agree that if you're in a positive state of mind, if you're in, how often would you, let's say you're on your way to dinner and you're having a fantastic dinner with a friend or a significant other or whatever, and then on the way there, somebody cuts you off, screams at you, scrapes your car door or whatever, and you get into this argument, you're in a bad frame of mind. Do you think that dinner is going to go as smoothly and nicely as if you were just butterflies and rainbows as you were driving down, right? No.
Right.
So you were in this frame of mind hey, I can't do this. This is nuts. These people are crazy. Climbing up Kilimanjaro, dead guy on the side of the freaking mountain, But you had to do it, so you redefined it as, I'm going to sing and I love to sing and dance, so I'm going to sing and dance my ass up this mountain past all the dead people. So, you know what really freaked me out is, you ever seen Weekend at Bernie's?
No.
You've never seen Weekend at Bernie's? No. It's a movie where I forget the exact plot, but this guy dies. His name's Bernie, and they needed him to do something right before he died. So they they take him all around town, and they're like holding him up, and he's like this, and they're like moving his arm. Yeah, it was a ridiculous movie. But I was just seeing you up the side of the mountain singing and dancing, and then the dead guy on the mountain just starts doing this. You know? I'm sorry. I smoke entirely too much weed. Okay, so here's the question. You went back, you took over Chet Holmes International. What's the first thing you did?
Well, even before that, I would say the first thing I did was listen. So I think a lot of people, especially if you're changing positions or you're coming into a company and you just kind of say, here's what we're going to do, nobody will respect you. Right. So I started by listening and asking lots of questions. And the more questions I asked, the more they kept saying, oh, ask more questions. Okay. You're on to this, right? You're understanding what's going on here. So I would say before that, that's a predecessor.
So you weren't that classic like Richie Rich Macaulay Culkin or whatever that walks in and just takes over and, you know, like puts his feet up on the desk like, all right, guys, it's my company now.
Absolutely
no. Okay,
not.
Got it. And well, that's good to know.
And then I also think, so I study under an Indian saint. She's actually not too far from here. Her full title is Sarvaloka Ma, Her Holiness Shri 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 1008 Guruji Punamji. But I call her Guruji.
I'm going to need to write that down.
Yes, it's a good one. So I study under her, and she just kept saying that if you come from service, that's the most important thing you can do. And if you can be a conduit of something positive, then you'll get through all of it. So that was really, it's not about me. It's not about the fact that I'm a 25. So I stepped in as CEO as at 26. So for a year and a half, I really looked around, tried to hire different people, scrambled to find some kind of solution.
So what was your role from 24 to 26?
I was chairwoman.
So like kind of like it was just you were
a complimentary title.
Right, gotcha. Was there problems that you needed to solve?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's always problems you need to solve, but was there something fundamentally that you deep down in your core knew that you wanted to change direction, or you wanted to fix, or you wanted to grow?
At that time, it was just, you know, everything's on fire. We need to solve some serious issues. Like, so I stepped in as CEO. The week that I stepped in, our merchant services stopped paying payroll. So like hundreds of people aren't able to pay, and they're like, Amanda, this merchant services have shut down. I'm like, what's a merchant services?
Yo, no way.
No, same week, they come back and they go, so Amanda, we've spent $500,000 to implement Salesforce. We haven't turned it on yet, and we're thinking maybe we shouldn't. What do you think? I'm like, what's Salesforce? You know, what is a CRM system? So
you had to get acclimated real quick, huh?
My CFO used to always say baptism by fire.
Okay. I still don't know what Salesforce is. To be quite honest with you, I still don't get it. So.
Well, 88% of companies hate their CRM system, so it's okay. Even if you did know, you probably wouldn't.
I hate that acronym, so just overall. I'm just like, just give me your email, we'll figure it out. I'm just kidding.
Don't have, okay. I was like, you have a CRM system.
I'm clearly joking. This is what I like to say, and then my team is like, no, Dan, we have da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but this sounds cooler. It's fine. So I'm gonna do a quick pitch. I'm just gonna mention that our sponsor is us. So if you're interested in get daily success mentoring, go to howtothink.com and sign up. So that was our message from our sponsor. Yay. So let me ask you a question. Is the Dream 100, that whole method, is that still the primary thing that drives Chet Holmes International, or do you have something different? Or have you taken a different direction, or is that still the thing that is like the core?
So we have 12 core competencies to double sales. That's just one of them. And it's amazing how much this has been timeless, right? So when I first decided I'm going to rewrite the book, right, Penguin was like, write the book. We get so many sales, we should just do a new edition. And I kept saying no. And then finally I'm like, okay, I will do it. And then when I went out on social and I asked, what should I update in the book. Everyone said, "Don't touch it. It's perfect." That was the response I got. I'm like, great,
It's like
guys.
redoing a Pink Floyd song. Like, no, don't do it. Stop.
Exactly.
Pump the brakes. Yeah, I got
Very
you.
difficult. But so what I realized is that the framework is the same. It's just the ways, the mediums in which have changed that need to be adapted and adopted, right? So
Context.
Dream 100, yeah. My father talked about faxing, phone calls, and lumpy mail, right? Whereas we all know today.
Can we? Because some people may not understand what a lumpy mail is. Can we just define that?
Yeah. Well, you did as well, too, right?
You probably do it better. So, is it mail that you know is just let
Has something
themselves
in
go and just doesn't eat right, or is it?
So lumpy mail, meaning you have something in it, so it makes it a lumpy
Got it.
package.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I just wanted to
Yeah.
define it. Sorry.
It's not Humpty or lumpy. It is
Sat on a wall.
Yeah.
Got it.
But today that can look like on social, right? So I Dream 100'd Dave Woodward.
Fantastic guy, by the way.
I love him,
Probably the
yes.
nicest guy that I've ever met. In fact, sometimes I can't be around him too long because it just makes me feel terrible about myself because he's so nice. I'm like, I need to go work on myself.
His whole family, I mean, it's a test to who he is as well. As you can tell that just his boys are so wonderful and his wife is so incredible as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
their unit is wonderful.
Yeah, they're great.
So when I first met Dave, though, he kind of gave me a cold shoulder, and I looked at him and went, "Oh, are we not? Is my pig-headed discipline and determination going to kick in because I have to like be friends with you?" So I ended up following up with him. We friended each other on Instagram, and for every single day for 3 months, every post he made, I commented on. So he would post, he took a hike and he bought some boots and he showed himself buying some boots. I'm like, I climbed Kilimanjaro in new boots, and I can tell you that that's the worst idea on the face of the planet. You have to wear in your boots beforehand because it'll be really painful. Oh, that's nice. I'd get a heart. You know, he made a deal with his son that he couldn't not eat sugar for 24 hours. And he didn't end up breaking. He ate sugar before 24 hours and he won like $10 or something. And I'm like, haha, you should have bet more. That's hysterical. So just little things. So he also posted a picture or a video of him and his wife is looking at all of these beautiful Christmas lights, and she looks so happy. I'm like, Dave, you gotta give your wife Christmas lights like multiple times a year for how happy she is about these Christmas lights, right? So I am in dialogue with him every single day, even though he really didn't say much. You know, there's like a heart here.
Yeah.
I take screenshots of them.
Like.
It's hilarious. But 3 months in, him and Russell reach out to me and say, hey, we'd like to buy 650 of these books for our inner circle and give them to all of our best clients, which was awesome. I mean, 5 years later, I just showed up to Funnel Hacking Live. That's how we met, right? And everyone knew Ultimate Sales Machine because of that 3 months of pig-headed discipline and determination to follow up. So that's an example of Dream 100 in today's world, being that bright spot in their day where you're in their face, in their place, in their space, and they can't avoid you, right?
Right.
But so we still have these 12 core competencies. So it isn't just Dream 100. We're also known a lot for market data and utilizing market data. I could go into that.
Do you get into sports at all? Boxing, anything like that?
No,
yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I went right past it. I just did not turn down the right road. I was just playing on my phone, just kept going. Well, the reason I say that is because you know what's funny is there have been times where, because I'm a big like martial arts MMA fan.
Oh, okay. My father was a
Boxing.
4th degree black belt.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So there was this, and this has happened multiple times, but there was, I remember seeing Dream 100ing in that game. Like there was, I believe it was Klitschko. I forget the other guy's name. Brandon probably knows it, but it's the guy who's always like, "What's up, champ? What's up, champ? Do you know the guy I'm talking about, Brandon? The boxer?
I'd have to look up the name. I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
Yeah. So what he would do was, Klitschko, I think I got the right one. He was like the champ, and he was trying to get the fight, right? Because if you want to get a fight with the champ, you gotta get the champ's attention. You can't just say I want to fight you, or you have to be the number one contender, right? But if you're not the number one contender, you got to get the attention. So this dude would literally follow Klitschko everywhere he went. If he was at a restaurant, he would show up with like a megaphone and be like, "What's up, champ? You can take the fight, champ?" Like right in the restaurant. Or he was Klitschko was skiing, he came on a speedboat, drove right past him, knocked him off his skis, and was like, come on, champ. What's up, champ? Let's go, you know? And just, he did this like 6 or 7 times. And he finally got the fight. And I'm pretty sure he lost. But the point remains, he dreamed 100 his way into a fight with the champ.
Oh my God, I never heard that before. That's such a good story.
Yeah. I don't recommend anybody do that. It's an example, but you know, it's not what I'm saying to do.
But the essence is there. The point is there. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. Let me ask you a question. In life, because you know, it's not just about business. I mean, a lot of it is, but some people don't want to be entrepreneurs, but they want to be authors. They want to be singers. They want to be whatever it is, whatever they define as success. Do you think that sometimes people, when they try to, and this is the difference between people who get it and people who don't get it, people who succeed, people who don't succeed, is they look at the tactics, they look at the surface level stuff. Send a piece of mail here, do this, comment here on social media, bop, 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 and they don't think of the essence. Like, I mean, essentially, that's what Klitschko got dreamed 100, and he gave him the fight. And that's the thing, is that same essence can be repurposed into a 1,000 different, you know, iterations and applications, and in 100 years it can still be done. In 1,000 years it can still be done. We might not have the internet in 1,000 years. Maybe we're all just like cyber connected, and I can just be like, give you a compliment by going bing, like whatever. And it's a completely, very creepy. But in this incredibly creepy future Bing world, you can still dream 100 people. You can still, sales is still sales. You know, rapport is still rapport. I mean, I'm hoping, unless we're all robots, and then that might not be the case. But you see what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Do you feel that people don't explore that enough, and they just try to rest on the tactics?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's also why this has been so timeless and continues to be so timeless, is because it's talking about the strategy, and whether the tactics or the vehicles that you're using in marketing change. The things that my father talks about, like with advertisements, how much more it converts if you have a person next to a product, right? So I think of that when I'm doing my Instagram stories. I always make sure I have someone dancing next to an image, because I know research shows, whether it was 20 years ago or not, in newspaper advertisements, with them showing like a book with a hand in it converts better than a book by itself, or someone holding a product. I do the same thing in Instagram, because it's understanding the concepts.
Yes. And I think that maybe you'll agree that when you deep dive into that and you don't play, because to me, trying to learn tactics, or at least relying on tactics, that's your safe zone. You know, if I just learn this tactic and I don't expand my brain anywhere past that, I don't push the limits, I don't push the envelope and watch it bend, that is where you get stuck, because you build this little box, and if the tactic doesn't work, or does work, or whatever, you stay in that little box, and you don't push the box, bend the box, break the box, and get out of the box. Would you agree?
Absolutely. When I think like, so we define marketing as creating top of mind awareness. Like, that is the whole purpose of marketing, is to create top of mind awareness, so that as soon as they say, oh, I need a product or service like yours, you are the first person that they think of, right? That's the true ability to marketing. Now, when you think of a business trying to do social media, they're like, I just need to do a Facebook post. I just need to do a Facebook post. Remember that the number one thing of any marketing you do is to create that top of mind awareness. So when you feel like, oh, I've only done this many posts, I don't want to do more. No, we're creating top of mind awareness. What do I have to do to make that happen, right? Just like that very basic thing. We get lost in the clutter of all the tactics without forgetting what is the point of what we're doing here.
I agree. I have a much more, you put it more eloquently than I did. I pretty much just say marketing is to make the sales guy's job easier. You know, like the better your marketing is, the less work you have to do when it comes to sales.
Well, Steve Jobs says it too. Marketing's job is to make sales obsolete.
And
the number one revenue generating company in the world right now is Apple.
Of course.
And how do you go, when you go to an Apple store, what do? Do they pitch you? Do they sell you? They don't have to do it.
You got to wait in line.
Exactly.
You got to wait in line, and then somebody's like, you got to go see the genius or whatever, you know. And it's very different environment. Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, Steve Jobs. He was such a he was such a brilliant guy. And I remember there was a scene in one of the movies, because you had a movie with David Fassenbender, and then you had another movie with Ashton Kutcher, and I believe it was the Ashton Kutcher one, and he was arguing with his engineers, and they were saying people who buy computers, they like to switch out their CD-ROMs, and they like to be able to replace their RAM, and And basically what Steve Jobs said was, no, computer nerds like to do that. People want whatever you tell them to want. And he created that, because that's the difference between, and maybe you'll agree, that's the difference between something like Apple and Microsoft. Apple does not sell computers. Apple sells creative empowerment. Think different. Microsoft sells computers. You buy a computer from Microsoft, you're buying a computer. You buy a computer from Apple, you buy into self-expression. You buy into spreading your art. You buy into creativity without the limit of, ease of creativity. You have an identity, and you have, and that's the difference, and that's why Steve Jobs did such a great job. But on the flip side, the man created literally the highest value tech company ever, and not only that, is responsible for changing the way that we live our lives. I mean, think about it. I'm sitting here interviewing you. I got a freaking iPhone and an iPad in front of me, and I mean, you want to talk to your family, you message on Facebook, or, I mean, literally how we live our lives completely really does. Social media, there would be no social media without the freaking iPhone. Yeah. It all comes back to that. So he made such an impact. But do you remember the story about what he talked about on his deathbed? He said, I don't remember the exact words, but he basically said it was all not worth it, because he spent so much time making that thing great that he didn't spend enough time with his family and his life, and he wasn't present enough. And on his deathbed, he regretted every single second of it. And I remember hearing that, and every single day when I wake up, I try to think of that, and I just close my eyes and I say, I'm Steve Jobs, I'm in my bed, I'm about to die, and I just realized that none of this shit matters. How am I going to live my life so that doesn't happen?
That's really interesting that you bring that up, because so I had an experience with my father, right? 55, he has an empire. He's so successful, right? When he got chemo, he decided, I'm going to buy a Rolls so that I can drive to my chemo in a Rolls Royce. It's like, really, Dad? I mean, really? And he was too nauseated to be able to drive it, so it was mostly me, and I always felt so uncomfortable that people always wanted to take pictures. So we would wear hats because he thought it was hilarious that people would want to take more pictures because they thought he was a celebrity. Silly things. But anyways, so we had this moment where we were sitting in the hospital room, and he had, so if you get a bone marrow transplant for leukemia, you're quarantined into a room in the hospital, and you can't leave for 2 months. So imagine my father, larger than life, right? Always dynamic, always out doing things, traveling the world, speaking, and now he's confined to this small hospital room. And he was looking out the window, and he says to me, of all the wealth that I've amassed, it can only buy me the biggest room in this hotel, or in this hospital. And I never forgot that, because obviously what's it worth if at the end of the day you can't enjoy it? He died at 55. So a big reason why I did the new edition, my why was because I wanted to give the final encore that my father never got to give. And it was this journey of him understanding himself and having a rich life beyond just what money can buy. So the last 9 years, that's why I study under my guru as well. There's just so much more to life than just doubling sales.
Yeah.
It's good that they have to get really far into this interview for me to say that, because normally I talk about sales.
Well, listen, if they left already, they don't deserve to hear it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So we're going to take some callers here in a little bit.
Ooh.
I love taking callers. I do ask the audience, though, that no internet marketing talk. That's barred. High-level strategy only. Sales, whatever. So actually, this is a funny thing, is, and I want to ask you this question. I'm very interested to hear this. I woke up one day. I mean, I built my first company, my first successful company, getclients.com. This is an internet marketing company, This company, howtothink.com, has nothing to do with internet marketing. And I you know, I woke up one day and I said, you know, in 10 years from now, when I got a little bit more gray coming in, the last thing I want to be known for is internet marketing, you know? And I started asking myself, like, what do I want to be known for? And what have people talked to me about? And I kept coming back to thinking, you know, like I literally kept saying the word how to think, you know? So my question to you is, you know, your father is known for that book. I mean, which is a great thing to be known for. You write a book like that, you're going to be known for that book. And he's known for the Dream 100, and he's known for Chet Holmes International. My question to you is, 10 years from now, what do you want to be known for? What does Amanda want to be known for?
It's an interesting concept because I've spent a lot of time. So in pursuit of fulfillment, I shaved my head for 5 years.
Saw that
it was
on
bald.
your website.
Yeah.
Thought it was Brittany, but no, nope, it's Amanda.
I didn't have a cray-cray Britney moment, but I did have a couple hundred staff all looking around going, what are you doing? And I'm like, the amount of weight on my shoulders of the expectations of others and what they thought was dictating what I would make as my decisions moving forward. And I didn't want that. And my guru even said, if you want to release yourself of those expectations and be the best version of you and make those decisions based on your own independent logic, then this is a good practice to try. So I finally, 4 years, I like got up the courage and I finally shaved my head, and I loved it so much I kept it shaved for 5 years. And it was really this commitment to myself to be the best version of myself and to find that fulfillment within me without needing that from exterior people. And it's an ongoing process. Like sometimes I'm better than other times, but that has been a serious undertaking to feel that burst of life that comes from me and me alone. So when you ask, what do you want to be known for? I don't want to be known for anything. I want to feel rejuvenated. I want to feel alive. I want to feel that I'm making an impact based on what I resonate with rather than.
So basically, you don't need to be known for anything.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's probably the best answer I've ever heard of it when it comes to that question. That was deep.
Thanks.
So let me ask you this. What got you into the Indian guru thing?
My father was diagnosed, and we went through a couple of 100 alternatives for leukemia, and we narrowed it down to the top 150 best in everything: sound therapy, light therapy, oxygenation therapy. I mean, priests speaking in tongues. I studied under monks in Japan, and then I met her, and it was just a completely different experience. Just being in her presence felt different, like something really magical about this woman. And I had celiacs at the time, so even the smell of wheat, if I went into a pizza store, I would get nauseated because I was that highly allergic. I would have to go to the hospital if I ate any wheat. And she said, every disease is just a disease of your mind. So if you can release those, you can cure yourself of celiacs. And I'm like, so you think I could?
So you can eat gluten now?
So
No way. Really?
So anytime I was in her presence, I could eat pizza. It was absurd. And
What kind of
imagine like
pizza? No, well, I need
She
to know
took-
what.
my first.
Don't tell me Domino's.
No. She liked deep dish, so we would go
Okay.
and eat deep dish.
Like
When I first
DiGiorno?
met her, we were no.
Say you got to start small, you know.
But so then she said, I need a concentrated amount of time to be able to help cure you of this. I have a center in Singapore. So I made my way to Singapore, and 3 months later, she helped rebuild my stomach lining, and I now can eat wheat all I like.
And I bet you that a doctor would have probably charged you tens of thousands of dollars to still
Oh, nobody,
have that issue.
no Western doctor said that they could cure celiacs. If you ask anybody about celiacs, they say, oh yeah, I just don't eat wheat. Like nobody actually has a cure for that.
I mean, why would you cure stuff like that when you could sell drugs to people that have it? Or why would you cure
Money, money,
cancer
money.
when you can sell cancer? I mean, you know how much money we would lose if we actually came up with or released the cure for cancer? All those all those machines, all those technicians that go to schools to learn those machines. I mean, you got to think you got a school somewhere. That school has staff. It has janitors. It has cafe workers. It has construction workers that work on it. And that school teaches technicians, and those technicians have to use these machines. And the people that makes the what do they call the cancer machines? The
like chemo,
the chemo
radiation.
machines. Yeah, somebody's got to do research to create those machines. Somebody's got to do the manufacturing, and then somebody's got to do the licensing, and all, da 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 da. If you just came out with the cure, all those people would lose their jobs. And you know, my response would be they can find new jobs, but you know, I'm just saying, like, that'd be a big thing. And I think a lot of people don't stop to realize that. And I'm not saying that there's any one alternative that I or anybody promote or like or say is the answer, but I think that you have to ask yourself, well, if this is supposed to be the only answer, going to a Western doctor and doing chemotherapy, you know, it's sort of like if I told you the secret to doing this thing is this thing, and I just happen to sell that thing, right? You know, if I say, well, if the secret to lose weight is to get into a state of ketogenics. By the way, I sell these ketones. Just by absolute happenstance, I happen to also sell that thing. You know, you kind of got to ask yourself, like, oh, so this is how you cure cancer, and you also happen to sell the thing that does that. It's interesting. You know, you got to think about that kind of stuff.
That's the scariest thing about online marketing today is the health, right? So on Google, you're not going to get the solution that you're looking for. You're going to get whoever's best at PPC, right? Or SEO, right?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
I wanted to ask you about that. What's with this alkaline diet thing? Tell me about that.
Did I tell you about that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I do my homework.
Okay.
But I'm asking you.
So amidst the 150 different alternatives that we looked at, whether they were from Asia, Africa, Australia, South America, the one thing that they all said common for my father to get him better was become vegetarian.
Okay.
They're like, even just to get your body back into alignment, that will help you get there faster. And cancer can't breed in an alkaline environment.
Really? So that means no meat. Is there any way I can get an alkaline cow? Do they make those?
I think they're putting them in laboratories now.
Really? So you can
Yeah.
get an alkaline cow and maybe some alkaline chickens?
No, they're just making them in a petri dish. You've heard about that, right?
No.
Making meat in a petri dish, yeah.
What? Is it
Scary.
like, is this a new vegan thing? Or is
I
this-
don't know.
No.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
Don't eat straight chemicals. Find better ways.
Yeah. I mean, the plants, people bitch
Even-
about the plants, but this sounds
Oh
better.
my God, even lettuce. Please stop eating lettuce and thinking that that's healthy. It's so if it's hydroponically made, they're now just water and chemicals that create lettuce. So you are straight eating chemicals. So people are like, oh, I'm so healthy. I'm eating a salad.
With cheese and ranch dressing on it, but sure, you do you. Okay, well now I got to ask you, because now we're going down this health rabbit hole, and we went from frickin' alkaline diets not breeding cancer, which I want to explore that, all the way to lettuce bad food. Now I got to ask you. I just got to know. Okay, what are your thoughts on cannabis?
Oh, okay.
I have to ask.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're already on that rabbit hole. We're already on that side of town. Let's walk around. Okay.
Well, so the actual plant has so many medicinal values, right?
Agreed.
That is wonderful. I believe in the medicinal values of herbs, all kinds of different herbs. I like, if I had to choose between someone doing cannabis versus doing drugs or taking pills, I'd probably choose that than the latter, right?
As would I. Yeah.
And then I also would add some kind of caution that when you use cannabis to get to, it's helping you get to an altered state of consciousness, which is actually what meditation is supposed to do. But majority of people just sit in silence and think that that's meditation, which is the polar opposite. Because when you sit in silence, usually your mind gets louder and it just, so cannabis helps get you there faster. You just have to smoke it, right? But the only problem is there's a disconnect between your mind and your body actually experiencing that. That's why it reacts in different ways. Same with alcohol. It's helping you get to this altered state of consciousness. Wouldn't it be cool if you didn't need to smoke or to drink to be able to get to that place where things just fall off of you, where you're honest and truthful? I don't know.
I mean, it'd be a lot cheaper.
But it takes work. It takes work.
I don't prefer the altered state of consciousness that alcohol gets you. I don't like being there. I like the social aspect of it. But then, you know, at some point you end up in that part of town that you don't want to be in. And then you're throwing up, and that's not good. But
well, not to say that everyone wants to be there, and that is the definition of altered state of consciousness. I should probably retract that statement.
But I'm saying like, think about this, right? You have all these drugs out. You have so here's the reason why I started being a daily cannabis user. I had real bad anxiety. Couldn't slow my thoughts down. So of course, what's the first thing a doctor recommends? Drugs, right? They recommend what's that drug everybody's on with the you get these beady little eyes, you know, and you're like super focused. Adderall.
I'm not an expert on drugs.
Yeah, so like a buddy of mine, he's like, dude, you gotta try Adderall. You just take it and you'll just sit there and get like a week's worth of work done in like 3 hours. So just like take it and do it when nobody's gonna bother you. And then I'm like, well, if nobody bothered me, I would get 3 weeks worth of work done in 3 hours. So I don't need the drug if that's, you know. But so he gives me 2 of them, right? So I sit him on my desk for, I don't know, 2 weeks. And every morning I'm staring at him. And, you know, I realized that I didn't really need that to be focused, right? Yeah. And, you know, I talked to another buddy of mine. He's like, hey, you should try medical marijuana, you know? And I'm like, well, you know, I don't know, da-da-da-da. And I was actually not for it. He's like, just go to the doctor and try. You know, he said, how many times have you taken XYZ pills, right? How many times have you taken all this medicine? And you're telling me you're not going to take the most natural one and at least give it a try? I said, all right, well, you close me. That's a good point. So I go and I was like, I have anxiety. Here's your prescription, right? I didn't even get the word out, right? And so I started using it not during the day, but at night, because my problem was, let's say it's 6 o'clock, I'm done working. Well, I'm done being smart for the day. I want to be dumb. You know, I don't want to think of all the problems in my business. I don't want it because then my mind gets tired, and then the next day it's already tired from the night of thinking, and now I'm not fresh. So, you know, I tried it, and it would slow my mind down and let me to just, I guess, kind of be more present in my thoughts, and enjoying things, food, music, you know, and just let me stop thinking so that the next day mentally I could return with a fresh plate. I'm sure I could use some super ninja meditation stuff to do the same thing. But you also have never smoked the weed, I guess. but here's why I say this. So, you know, there are a lot of applications for recreational drug use that are not good, like cocaine and methamphetamines, all that. But then there are people out there that do things like, not just cannabis, but they do things like psychedelics. You know, like DMT and ayahuasca. I gotta ask you, if you ever did a drug, it would have to be ayahuasca. All this Indian guru stuff. I mean, it would have to be, right? Like
That's
that would be right
hilarious.
up your alley, I would think. No? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like I've had a lot of psychedelic experiences. I just haven't taken the drugs to have them.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So, like, I could talk with the best of them. I have great stories of experiences, right? But it's like, on a solar eclipse, my guru decided that we were going to chant for 3 days straight, and it was 8 hours a day for 3 days straight.
But you accomplished the same thing. Have you been able to accomplish ego death?
I don't know what the definition of ego death is.
It's the thing where, I mean, apparently you can achieve it through meditation or obviously psychedelics. I guess that's the easier way, quicker. But it's where you lose a sense of self. You lose a sense of who you no longer become Amanda or Dan. And I guess, and maybe I'm not explaining this the best way, but essentially it allows you to mentally feel like what it's like to die and cease to exist and not have an identity. And it's like a whole different trippy type of thing. And I didn't know if you have gone that deep down the rabbit hole or not. I stay up late and watch YouTube videos sometimes. And this is where I go. If you ever watch the Joe Rogan podcast, man, you can go down some holes, man. You can go down some rabbit holes. But we're bringing up this stuff. I just figured that maybe you'd have an opinion on it, good, bad, indifferent.
I mean, I've spent a lot of time. I mean, a lot of time. I'm 33, but a lot of time, like the last 9 years, I've studied intensively under a saint that if you truly want to be connected to, let's say if you were divided into your ego and your soul, you can't even walk up to the door of her location if you don't want to truly know yourself. And people that are looking for truth and looking for the best version of themselves, regardless of what the world says, regardless of what they say your ego should be, like if you go there for ego pampering, you will get slapped. Like I've watched people walk in the door and then like leave because they can't handle the idea of stripping away the masks that we wear. So ego death.
Maybe they called it something different.
Yeah. Well, I that sounds like a painful experience, which can be difficult, but I'd rather connect it to a positive thing. If we're thinking about the mindset, like
a lot of people that go through it describe it as scary at first, but then beautiful. Scary then beautiful. I haven't gone through it. I didn't even really get into it until I started talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I would go to these conferences, and everybody would be like, hey, you do ayahuasca yet? And I'm like, no. And then somebody else, you do ayahuasca yet? I'm like, no. Why is everyone asking me that? You do ayahuasca yet? I'm like, no, what are you guys all on drugs? Like, what are you doing? And so then I just got curious, and I was like, well, now I got to look into this because everybody's doing, not everybody, but it was just an absurdly high amount of people saying it. And I was like, well, now I got to see what this is all about. But then I did research that meditation, heavy, serious meditation, not like, Sunday meditation class at the yoga studio, but like deep stuff. Achieved very similar results, and it's a fascinating sort of it's a fascinating thing to get into because a lot of people don't talk about stuff like that.
No, I would reframe it still. The ego death sounds painful and agonizing. I would rather say something that my guru taught me was calling your higher self. Like something I say all day, every day is I grant myself permission to connect to my higher self. And so instead of thinking about a death, I'd rather think about a birth and a prosperity, like abundant feeling. And that abundant feeling is in birth.
I love how you reframe things all the time, constantly. It's like,
that's good.
Constantly. Yeah.
Thank you.
So do you feel like the ultimate goal of a human being should be to achieve the highest version of themselves?
Absolutely. Everything starts with you, right? In your relationship with yourself. I watched that with my father. He was surrounded by all the people that loved him most. He had a magnificent business, and yet he felt alone.
Yeah. I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way, even when they're not at the height of success that you and your father had. Still, I feel like a lot of them. And
everyone. It's not just entrepreneurs. It's just everyone.
Yeah.
So
there's not a lot of stuff out there. Oh, how to get rich, how to become rich, how to increase sales. There's not a lot of stuff out there to deal with that. There should be more of it. Yeah. So, do you? Let me ask you. Let's change gears here for a second.
Yeah,
and then
let's
we'll take
do
some calls.
We went some rabbit holes. I wonder what calls are going to be after what we've just been
they're still going to ask about sales. They're like, yeah, whatever, Dan. Take your ayahuasca. Amanda, how can I increase sales? I guarantee you. I can guarantee you. So let me ask you this, because it sounds like growth's super important to you, and as well contribution. Mm-hmm. If you had $100 million and you could only spend it on bettering the world, and there was no red tape, no restrictions, what would you do?
So for the last 5 years, I've driven 10,000 miles around the United States looking for a remote area, a couple hundred acres, that I could create a university of self-realization. My guru came up with this idea, and I just love it. This place where people could come, just like what I experienced, just getting disconnected from all of the craziness that's happening in our outside world and connecting back to who we are. Get really simple, learn the power of your mind, right? Learn how we only use a small percentage of it because we're clouded in our angers and our fears and our guilts. And find that place of discernment so you can make more positive decisions that help you become the better version of you. And that might even look like spending some time with the earth, because God knows we don't spend any time with our earth anymore, which is crazy because that's where we came from.
Store, you know, we're just chilling in line at the Apple store.
Yeah, so giving that place, that University of Self-Realization, that's all under Divine Bliss International. It's a nonprofit that I've spent a lot of time in.
So, and you had these centers exist already?
So we have 2 that are smaller, one in Singapore, one in Clearwater.
In Clearwater here, in Florida.
I know,
Clearwater,
that's where I came
really?
from. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and this is
it's
yours?
It's a small. No, it's under my guru.
It's under, okay, but it's under your, is it under your nonprofit?
I'm a CMO
Got
of Divine Bliss International.
Chief Marketing Officer.
Yeah.
Shocking that would be your role. So let me ask you this. If somebody wanted to explore that world, right, what would be the first step?
First step. I would probably say, so I've put up a bunch of videos of my guru, which is just awesome. Majority of gurus in India, you know, they like write with like they don't speak, and they use a rock to write on floors and stuff to tell you what you need. I don't know. They're very, very archaic.
Okay.
So
cool.
I'm proud to say that we have some recordings online. Sarvaloka Ma. I love her videos online on YouTube. I would recommend that as like watching that. And then I would probably talk more about steps on meditation, like the actual kind of meditation that can create an altered state of consciousness rather than just the thoughts getting louder.
Right. And so if somebody went to your Clearwater location, what is that called?
Divine Bliss International.
Okay. So if somebody went there, what could you expect going there? What kind of experience would they be in store for?
I would say leave all expectations at the door and just
Okay.
be open to connecting to your higher self.
Okay. And what type of results or what type of change or paradigm shift would the average person, if they gave into it, if they were serious, could they expect after?
So we used to do a bunch of photos. I would take people's picture when they first got there, and then I'd take their picture when they leave, and you'd see the shift happen on their face. It was that monumental.
Really?
Yeah, like their face would become more balanced, their eyes would lighten, their smile, they couldn't stop smiling because you could just see they were glowing. It's a really cool thing. I have hundreds and hundreds of these before and after photos of people just glowing.
Well, it sounds like you've I mean, you're obviously amazing at sales, marketing, what you've done, but it sounds like you really put a lot of effort and time into this.
I mean, last year we grew sales by 50%, and I only worked 1 day a week. The other 6 I was in the
Working on
nonprofit.
this. So that's like where your heart lies.
Yeah.
How long is the experience? Do you go for a day? Is it a week?
At the moment, it's like a day you would come and experience. You wouldn't be able to stay there. That's why we need the bigger property to be able to have people stay on the property.
So so for right now, it's a 1 day experience. Clearwater or Singapore, 1 day experience. Okay. And
Are we making a trip, Dan? Is that
I know. I'm just like, I have this little thing I'm doing recently where I'm like, let me do something. Let me try to do a bunch of stuff that I normally would never do. And and then as you're talking, I'm like, yep, that's one of the things I would never do. That's a very prime candidate, but I want to expand my mind. So
That's hilarious.
So, I mean, is there a type of person that shouldn't do this?
If you want to stop growing, if you are happy with where you're at, don't go there. It'll be too uncomfortable because it raises you up so quickly.
Oh, okay.
It's not good. If you're stuck in depression and you're like, I want to be stuck in depression, don't go.
That sounds like the pitch I make when somebody wants to buy my business consulting. They say, well, you know, why shouldn't I buy it? I say, the only reason you shouldn't buy it is if you hate money. exactly. Like,
That's so good.
yeah, you just reminded me of it. I was just like, that's like the perfect objection handler. Like, if you want to stay depressed, this is not for you. Okay.
Some people like where they're at and they're very comfortable, and other people want to level up.
That's amazing. That's. I love hearing stuff that is outside of the norm of like, here's a pill, you know, here's a. I mean, even here's weed. That's common now. Now I feel. I used to feel like the new guy on the block. Now it's like, oh yeah, everybody does it. You know. Now I got to go to an Indian guru and get to the next level. I honestly, you know, every time I try something that I think that I wouldn't try, every time I try something that I say I would never have done, I do it. And then I'm like, this was amazing, you know?
Well, Steve Jobs, he gave out Autobiography of a Yogi as his book to every person that went to his funeral. And it was the only book on his iPhone. And it just talks about this journey of a man going through understanding from gurus. And it's the whole 9 yards.
One audiobook.
Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And when Mark Zuckerberg was about to sell Facebook, he went to his mentor, Steve Jobs, and said, I'm thinking about selling. I'm not quite sure what I should do. What do you think I should do? And he said, there is this ashram, this healing center, like what's over in Clearwater, where you can go. I went there, and that's what made me decide what Apple would be. You should go there. And just a couple of years ago, he finally admitted that he had gone there, and that's where he got the idea for Facebook. And that one place is actually in the lineage of my gurus. So my guru got handed from another guru who got handed from him, which is Babanim Karoli.
See, we brought this all back to sales. We landed the plane. You know,
live callers.
You know what's funny though is that the man that created a little device that could hold 10,000 songs had one audiobook.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. What does that tell you about how much that book meant to him?
Yeah.
That's nuts. All right, so let's do this. This has been fun. I like going in all different directions. I like just driving the car around the city and just like going right, you know, like there's a lemonade stand. Let's drive through it and let's drive over this guy's lawn. Just come back around. So, all right. So here's what I'd like to do. Brandon, there you go. So 813-474-9122. Text that number with your question, and then Brandon will pick one, bring you on audio, and you can ask Amanda a question, me, whoever, Brandon if you want, all of the above.
Awesome.
And yeah, whatever, you know. 813-474-9122. We'll bring a couple people on, have a chit chat. But this has been amazing so far. I mean,
we've gone through the rabbit holes.
Yeah.
All of them. Multiple of them.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it. I love how tattered. Pull that book up. Look how tattered that book is.
You know what? I was bringing around a really nice one. I'm like, but this is how they normally look.
Now did you really? Is that? Or did you just like put that in a dryer before you came?
No, I recently.
Because that's pretty.
It dropped in a puddle.
Okay, all right. You cheated a little bit.
I did not cheat. I was so upset. Half of my notes are now have watermarks on them, which is such a bummer. It was a real bummer.
That's amazing that you still go through that same book.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Wow. Talk about going deep, dedication to going deep on something.
Well, that's what we teach. Mastery isn't about doing 4,000 different things. It's about doing 12 things 4,000 times.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. I like that. That is legit. What do you think well, Brandon, let me know. Just interrupt me. Just cut me off when you have somebody. But what do you think the biggest thing on a high level, not like a little technique or a tactic, but on a mental level, what do you think the biggest mistake people make in sales? Getting the scrunchy face.
The single biggest thing?
Yeah, the top one.
Okay. Well, I'll give you. Can I do two? Can I just
you
break
can
it
do
over
whatever
two?
you
Okay,
like.
Thank God. So, statistically, right now, 97% of our prospects feel that we're too pushy as salespeople.
Okay.
97%. That is absurd amount of people, right? Yes.
Well, there's an absurd amount of people that suck at sales, so we got to factor that in.
3 out of 4 salespeople are ineffective at their job.
There's got to be more. It's got to be more like 3.985. Come on now.
3 out of 4, right? We're at 75% of them are ineffective at their job. But if we look at the universities in the United States, only 0.08% of them actually have sales as a major or minor. So where are we actually learning how to be great at sales, right? We don't have that, which is interesting. But then if we look at the follow-up, how many touches does it take to actually close a deal? On average, it's about 8 touches before we get their attention. And 95% of salespeople don't follow up after the 3rd contact.
Yeah. So 95% of salespeople are lazy.
Fortune's in the follow-up, baby.
Fortune's in the follow-up. Absolutely. Okay. So from a high level, do you think that the biggest mistake then would be a non-commitment to mastery?
Absolutely.
Oh, I got a smile out of you for that one. Yeah, you like that.
Well, that's our whole thing, huh?
Yeah, I caught that.
You're on the CEO Mastery show that I just launched.
I would love to say, because I found out you like alkaline foods, found out you're an amazing songwriter, and even your kachiri, whatever it's called that we could not find here. I was going to bring it in, but there's nowhere in St. Pete that has that food. But I did not know that your show is called CEO Mastery, so that's a fail on my part.
No, but, I mean, it just launched yesterday, so I don't know when you did your research, huh?
Excuse. Cool. We got anybody, Brandon?
Not at the moment. Let's repeat the number one more time.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. We're going to get the technology there where we can pop the number up during a stream.
Yeah,
we're just
I'll
not
be sure
there
it
yet.
Gets on next stream.
We spent all of our money on lights, so...
And we're on the 11th floor, and you can't see that it's a magnificent view. Just saying.
Yeah, I covered it all up.
Yeah.
Me and Brandon covered it all up with
black.
So it's
And we
it's
put
like
lights.
You come in here and it's this amazing sort of penthouseey, as you said, kind of office feel. But then we're just cover it all up, screw it. So 813 474-9122, 813-474-9122. If you need help with sales, which if you're watching this show, you probably do, because if not, you'd be off on an island somewhere. Just messing. I think Amanda could help you out. So if we have anybody's 813-474-9122. So you just text that number, and then Brandon will give you a call.
Oh, they text and then you call.
Yeah, because
I was gonna say, I wonder if more people would get on if they
just
texted.
called.
Just texted.
Oh, just texted. Well, see, here's my thought, right? So if I just bring any random person on from a call, they could be crazy, man. They could be asking you.
Usually.
They could be asking you about ayahuasca and stuff. It's just some irrelevant shit that and. So we try to get a text first to see what the question is, and then we're like, all right, well, that's not an insane question. Let's bring that's a good question. Let's bring that person on, So, I mean, that's what we're trying so far. We'll probably modify it as we go. I'm just making all this up as I go along.
Hey, I love it. Yeah, this is only
second. You're number 2, second episode. Yeah, you're an early adopter.
Awesome.
Yeah. OG. In 5 years, when this is one of the biggest podcasts in the world, you'll be considered one of those OG guests. See, I'll have to make an NFT for it. So let me ask you a question. Sometimes I ask people, because entrepreneurs, it's hard to sometimes describe what we do. I say, how would your parents describe what you do for a living? But that would not be a good question to ask you.
That is funny. How would your parents describe what you do?
Oh, so my dad would be like, this is how my dad talks. He'd be like, he does some internet shit, but I'm starting to think that, I'm just concerned that maybe I just don't want him to go to jail, because he's making just all this money, and I don't think it's possible to make that much money on the internet. I saw that movie, The Net, with Sandra Bullock, and I don't know about that internet. That's I still don't trust it. I don't believe anything I hear on the internet. So I don't know what he's doing, but I just hope he doesn't go to jail for it. It just doesn't seem like it's possible to make that much money. And people just tune in and listen to him talk, and he posts these pictures online and this weird stuff, and you know, he was singing a song on a boat, and you know, it's just I don't know, you know, that'd be how my dad would describe.
Where's he from?
So he's from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And he was a shock jock in the 80s. So you can tell where I get my edgy conversation from. He was a shock jock, and he would just do crazy stuff. You know, one of his radio names was Wild Bill Blab.
What was it?
Wild Bill Blab.
Okay.
And he would do these crazy shows, and he was Howard Stern.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like that, but not this. Howard Stern was like really sexual.
Yeah.
He wasn't sexual. He was just funny.
Awesome.
And he would do this thing where he'd pretend to be drunk on the air, be like, "That's a Wild Bill Blab. I'm gonna," you know, he would just do this because, you know, FCC you can't drink on the air. So he would just pretend to drink on the air. But I often wonder if how much he was actually pretending. But so he used to do that, and so he has a very like out there personality, and but yeah, he's not big into the internet. So I getting him, it took me about 5 years to convince him to get Netflix and Amazon Prime instead of paying like $100 a month for like HBO with his cable company. And and now he's you should hear it. He just goes through it and he's like, I just don't understand this, you know, like and oh, you know what he does? He goes on Netflix, right? So he has access to all this. He doesn't understand the cloud. He goes on and he hooks up his TV to where he plays the movie on Netflix, and then he records it to a VHS tape that he has, and he has this huge wall of VHS tapes. And he's like, I don't, you know, if the satellites all go down, I'll still have this movie on VHS, and I can still watch it. And you mark my words, one day the satellites are all going to go down. And so he sits there for hours recording all these Netflix movies on VHS.
That is awesome. I have an uncle like that.
Yeah, they should hang out.
They should hang out.
All right. So
All right, guys, we do have a caller in. We have Tad from Denver. You guys want to take this call now?
Yes, Tad.
All right, you are on.
Hello?
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
I can. Amanda, can you?
Yes.
All right. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you guys. Thanks.
Cool. So what's your question today?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, so I've been following you, Dan, for quite a long time, and was interested in the podcast since it's dealing a bit more with mindset and that sort of thing, and that's really my area of expertise, I guess you could say. I've been a psychotherapist for a long time, and I guess my question is, I've been trying to figure out how to take that knowledge, take that expertise, and get an online business started for the last couple years, but I've really been struggling to get off the ground. You know, at first I built a mental health course that didn't get any sales, and now I'm looking at trying to start maybe a mindset related mental fitness program for entrepreneurs. But again, seemingly struggling to get people interested. And so I guess my question is how to get off the ground, and also how to kind of get past this phase of discouragement when it doesn't seem like anything seems to be moving.
So what I'll do is we can both attack that. I'll let Amanda go first.
No, you go first.
No,
this is your
first.
expertise.
Ladies first.
No, go.
All right. So, well, thank you. You're very gracious. So here's the thing. You want me to be completely 100% straight with you?
Yes.
Okay. Nobody's gonna buy that. Nobody wants that. What they want is a goal that will help them achieve, right? So if you say, buy my mental health course, yeah, maybe you get a few sales, but what's really going to sell is, you know, who wants that? Who needs that? Even if they don't realize they need it, what are they trying to accomplish? So for instance, I have a client of mine. I had dinner with him last night. He sells a confidence course, but he doesn't really position it as a confidence course. It's how to increase sales. But the whole concept is that if you are a salesperson, or you're a business owner, you're a commission-based salesperson, you do your own sales for your company, whatever it is, you have sales scripts, you have sales tactics, you have sales techniques. But how come you have the same techniques that this person has, but yet they're doing a lot better job than you? How come this person over here has the same script, they have the same tactics, they have the same techniques, and they can close, but you can't? It all comes from your confidence. So if you are more confident, then when you get on the phone, when you make those sales, if you can develop that confidence, you will be able to close more, because it's not necessarily about the tactics. It is, but if you don't have what's behind the tactics, then those tactics won't work. You won't be able to execute them. So the way he frames it, the end result is you get more sales, but the way in which you get it is by increasing confidence. So it is a personal development offer, but it is meant to accomplish a goal. People will very rarely pay for therapy. They'll very rarely pay for mindset, but they will pay to accomplish a goal. And if you have good marketing and you can articulate your offer well, you can show them that the way to achieve that goal is through a mental or mindset or therapy type of vehicle. But if you make it all about the vehicle, nobody's going to buy it. Because imagine you're going to Hawaii, and let's say we're going to go to Hawaii, right? And I'm your travel agent, and I'm telling you about this trip to Hawaii, and I'm like, hey man, the plane is amazing. The stewardesses and the flight attendants and whatever, they're so nice. The best nuts you've ever tasted in your life. They have top shelf liquor there. The plane, the seats are amazing. You'd be like, well, I don't give a shit. Tell me about the resort. Tell me about the place in Hawaii, right? So when you sell something, you don't sell the plane, you don't sell the trip, you sell the destination. So when you say, I want to sell mental health, I want to sell mindset, especially if you're charging a decent amount for it, it's going to be a lot harder for people to buy that than if you sell a result, and therapy and mindset is simply the way to get there, right? So that's why it's a lot easier to sell marriage counseling than it is to sell general therapy, because marriage counseling has an end result, save my marriage. We're just using therapy to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So in this case, it would be really, I guess, using that money, that end result of increased sales or increased income, or
you got to pick one.
Those outcomes to kind of get people in.
Well, what's a good, sorry, let me just insert here. What is like one of your best success stories of somebody that you've worked with? Did you save them time? Did you save them from suicide? Did you say, do you have any off the top of your head?
Definitely, and kind of hearing Amanda talk a lot about the passion for personal development, is really like, that's where my passion has always been as well. And so, but yeah, I've saved a lot of people from suicide. I've helped people, like you were talking about, rescue their relationships and save time and have greater peace of mind and confidence and all those sorts of things. And I think the struggle for me has been, it seems like no one sort of, kind of like Dan was alluding to, no one seems to want to necessarily pay for those things.
Well, I'm so sorry. It seems like, yeah. It seems like he's giving you the perfect thing is so let's say that you were to niche, okay? I know, because I run a marketing research firm, that it is 5 to 9 times more depression amongst individuals that are from 18 to 35. That is a great way of saying, if we're 5 times more depressed than any other time in history, including World War II, World War I, and the Great Depression, there is something that we need to understand about our minds. Would you like to know the 3 things, right? This is a course that will teach you in 10 minutes, right? In 20 minutes, in 1 hour, the things that you're missing from your mental health, right? So if you could use that market data to really refine what is your message and who do you speak to that you do the best for, right? If it's depression, can you niche there and just focus there for a bit, right? If it's with marriages, there's plenty of market data out there that talk about how poor marriages are. The divorce rate is through the roof, right? And this one thing is going to help you hone in on that and focus on it so that you can have the healthy marriage, so that you can have a wonderful relationship with your children, so that your children are living a confident, well-rounded life because they're not feeling like they're depressed, right? Because suicide is through the roof.
Yeah, and you got to remember there's 2 type of offers. There's, and this really goes with any product. There's I help a specific person achieve a specific result. And then there is, I have a vehicle that will allow multiple people to achieve multiple results. The second one is a lot wider. It's a lot harder. I believe you should master the first one before you move on to the second one.
Yep.
Because it's, if you can't play good college ball, you're going to get crushed in the NBA. You wouldn't even go there,
Niche to get rich, huh?
Yeah, now look, I mean, that's not to say you can't widen out later. I mean,
Absolutely.
because that's growth, right? That's where we all want to go. But the point is that if like, ask yourself a question. Why do you do this? Why is this so important to you? It sounds like you've worked with a lot of different people and you've solved a lot of different problems. But when you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, well, this is why I'm getting up and still doing this and not why I'm doing something else, what is that reason?
I think it's really where my talents meet a need in the world. So I know how many people struggle with their minds and how that's not actually necessary, and that there are ways that people can take control of that.
Why is it so important to you?
Well, definitely I have my own personal story with that as well, of overcoming that. And so, yeah, I think that's part of it.
Have you ever shared that story?
I have.
Okay.
In my videos and groups and things like that.
So what's your favorite type of person to work with? Where do you get the most fulfillment? Is it when you save a marriage? Is it when you help a salesperson make more sales? Is it when you help an entrepreneur who's depressed get over it so they can actually function at a high level? Like, where do you get the most fulfillment?
Yeah, I would say the latter, like you said. Somebody who maybe is successful, but they're not happy, like you said, or that type of thing. So
Is the name of your company Depressed Success?
What'd you say?
Is the name of your company Depressed Success?
No.
You might want to go register that. I think that's a really good. I mean, that's the first thing I thought of when you said that. I'm like, Depressed Success. I mean, that would be a great, or at least use it somehow. I mean, because that's what you're talking about, right? You're talking about people who become successful, but then there's this depression that comes with it. And how do you maintain success? And then how do you define success? And because when we become successful, we get all messed up. You think you're messed up when you're poor. All you got to worry about when you're poor is paying the bills. That's it. It's actually a pretty simple life. When you get rich, that's when you're like, oh, like now I understand what problems are, okay? Not saying that not getting kicked out of your home and all that is not a problem. It's a huge problem. But imagine you're responsible for 20 people that could get kicked out of their home. It's a different, I'm not saying it's higher or lower, I'm just saying it's different, and it can be more complex,
And you could also assist more people. If you're focusing on someone that has 20 staff, then there's another package there, right, for all of their team to have that as well. So you go after the leader, decision maker, and then they can train their entire organization on that. But it's a huge problem right now with COVID, right? Everybody's walked out of COVID going, what am I doing with my life? 80% of employees are willing to leave their job right now and go to something that is less pay because they're wanting to feel fulfilled. The world stopped, everyone slowed down and went, wow, I'm actually not happy with who I am.
Because you had time to think about it.
Right.
Because everybody sat on their ass for 8 months, not going anywhere, and they finally had time to think of it, and then they realized they didn't like themselves.
So that is crucial for you. You have a huge marketplace right now for businesses, for employees, for entrepreneurs to be able to help them hone that, because they know that mental health is such a crucial thing right now, especially after going through a pandemic. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, Well, I just talked to my friend well, you live in Florida. I just talked to
We try not to participate,
Yeah.
We try to sit it out. But I get what you're.
Well, in Australia, they're still locked up, huh?
I know. I feel terrible for them. You have no idea. I have friends in Australia.
Yeah.
I like my empathy sensors go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but the point is that I think you should really. All you have to do is think about this one thing. How can I help someone achieve a result through my superpower? That just don't overthink it and don't be like, be happy, right? It's way too wide. Find somebody, a specific thing. I helped save a marriage. I helped, something really tangible. The more tangible you can go, especially when you're in any sort personal development, unless you're Tony Robbins and you can just, your way to billions, you have to be specific. You're right over there. I'm just saying, I love Tony, by the way. I love making fun of the clap, but you have to be specific, and you have to pick a tangible, quantifiable end result, something that can be quantified. I'm not saying it's impossible to make money without doing that. I'm saying it's easier, and if you master that, you can move on. And maybe you just sit there, but if you can quantify it, right? If you can quantify the result through personal development, that is the easiest way to sell personal development. But if you can't, well, then you better have some infomercials that were aired for 30 years or something.
There's also the concept that maybe it's not you that has to do it. Maybe you find somebody that's great at marketing, right? You don't have to be everything. It could be somebody else that assists you with that. But
you gotta tell the marketer what they're marketing at the end of the day.
Right.
Well, maybe someone could package you better than what you're doing yourself.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Sure. Yeah, but it sounds like, do you think I'm on the right track with focusing on entrepreneurs based on what we talked about? Or I feel like you said, there is a good market for that.
I mean, you just said entrepreneurs. That's super wide. I mean, what are you helping entrepreneurs do?
I guess specifically would be online entrepreneurs.
Well, that's still an audience. What is the tangible result?
It would be, I think it would be increased income and impact. I guess I'm not sure how to put a dollar amount.
No. Okay, let's make a rule. We don't use the word impact, okay? Because impact, it just means bullshit. It just means, right? So that's called copy, right? When you say, I want to help them make more impact and income, that's called copy. We're not talking about copy right now. This is not marketing. We're talking about fundamentally what the blueprint for your business, for your company, for your message is. Copywriting comes later. Copywriting is how you, from a fancy way, articulate what that blueprint is. Most people, when they try to come up with the idea for a product, they get stuck in copy. They immediately go to copywriting and they start thinking, well, it's got to sound really fancy and good for it to be a good idea. No, it can sound horrible and boring and stupid and mundane as long as it makes sense. Then the copywriting makes it sound not boring, not mundane. But at the end of the 4-hour work week, the book is about outsourcing. It's an outsourcing book. Done. We're done here. It's an outsourcing book. That's what the book is. It's a book on frickin' outsourcing. That's it. But they called it the 4-hour work week to make it appealing. We're not there yet. We're trying to find out what you're going to sell, what you're going to create, what offer you're going to make. So take the copywriting out of it. I'm going to increase impact and income, blah, blah. That's copywriting. What specifically, what tangible result are you going to get for what type of person? Okay, online entrepreneurs, right? Now, did you just pick that because that's what everybody's doing? Or do you fundamentally have a place in your heart for online entrepreneurs?
I think, if I'm being honest, I'm picking that. I'm just trying to get started, and I thought, I've gotten sort of advice from people that, that could, with your expertise and mindset, a really good place to go.
Okay, then don't do it. That's the worst thing you can do. If you just do something because you think it'll work, or because it'll make money, or because you think it's a good idea, when the first bump in the road happens, you're not going to be willing to get over it. You have to have just complete the level of passion you have to see something through and to make it work. It has to be at a 10. It has to be a 10 out of 10, because if you don't have that passion, you won't work. This is why I don't worry about competitors, because competitors that try to copy me, or how many times have you asked yourself, well, what about competitors, right? How many times have you thought, well, what if somebody copies me? Well, here's why you don't worry about it, because if you're passionate about what you do, 99% of the people that copy you, they will not share your passion. So when they hit the very first bump in the road, they're not willing to go through it. You need to be willing to go through the pain, the muck. You need to be willing to do the hard thing and master the hard thing while everyone else is looking for for the easy thing. And while they were doing that, and they were off in this fairy tale bullshit land where they were searching for this magical fairy dust that doesn't exist, you were busy getting good at the hard way. You were busy learning to love the pain. You were busy taking things that you didn't want to do, but you learn to love them anyway. As Mike Tyson says, a champion is somebody who learns to love things that they hate. That's what it makes a champion. But you can't do that unless you have a passion for it, unless you have a true passion. So when you say, I want to help online entrepreneurs, there better be something traumatic that happened in your life that had to do with online entrepreneurs where you just have this amazing soft spot for them. It shouldn't just be some coach, some bullshit online coach said to you one day, this is a good offer. You should, don't do that, man. I mean, I'm telling you this because I've been there, been down that road. It's a dark road. There's no street lights. There's nobody on the side of the corner and says some guy that probably is going to sell you meth. And that's it. It's a lonely, dark road. And it's not the road. You want to go down the road that's lit up, that's full of life, that's full of brightness, that you feel good when you go down. And that's the road of passion. It's a big-ass street sign that says Passion Street, okay? That's the road you want to go down. So what I'm asking you is, who do you fundamentally, deep down in your core, love working with? When you get up when you're old and you say to your children, I helped X, who is X? Who is the person that you absolutely at your core, money aside, you feel so fulfilled to help? Who is that person?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting, like young adults especially, like I mentioned with their mental health and finding confidence and finding direction.
Do you work with their parents?
Those are people that I love.
Do you ever work with their parents?
Sometimes. I guess when I say young adults, I talk 18 to 20s.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
So
thing,
not like 13. Got it. I was going to say because to put the business side of it, to play devil's advocate to myself, 13-year-olds don't have credit cards. So that's why I immediately was like, do you work with their parents?
Sure.
But okay, 18 to 25, that's fine. And what do you, and so you just, so your audience might be 18 to 25, but they're trying to do something. And what's holding them back is their mindset. You find the thing they're trying to do, you solve that, but you just solve it through mindset or mental health, right? That's how you approach that. Because if you do it any other way, you're going to be back on this show in 2 years asking me the same freaking question. Being honest with you, being real.
Right.
Well, so you had a practice for years. What did you do before this?
Yeah, so I'm actually a therapist in private practice right now, and before that, I've worked in a lot of different settings. I worked in like hospitals, and I worked in agencies. And
You got the credentials.
Like
Yeah. So online is everything that you're already doing offline, right? So what gets the attention of people when you talk to them, when you look at their eyes, right? Somebody that's building copy online would love to have what you have, which is people coming to you on a daily basis. You can test with them. Okay. I would, like he's saying, who do you love to serve? I would go back and really think through who have been the best experiences I've ever had in my practice of the decades that I've worked in my practice, right? Who are the top 5? And what made them so wonderful? What made that difference? And really reverse engineer to help you decide who you're going to target online. And then once you've figured out who that is, then as they're coming into your office, right, because you have live demonstrations, look at their facial expressions. Look at their body when you say, hey, depression is up more than ever before, and I know that that's difficult for you. In school, there's 500 students per one guidance counselor. So students are not getting that support to know how to handle all of the things that are on your shoulders right now, right? So seeing how do they react when you tell them that? Does that land for them? Do they kind of just go, yeah, whatever? What grabs their attention? Since they're right in front of you, test it. That is your testing ground to then bring it online, right? You have the best option, which is people right in front of you.
And keep in mind, you're on the spot right now on this live show. You don't got all decide this right now, right? You're like, oh, what do I say? Like, what I mean? I get it. This. You got to think through this. You got to sit down and you got to think through it. You got to really ask yourself this. The first question that you come up with while you're on a show. I mean, sit down and really think through it. I mean, if you just want to make money, that's a completely different conversation. But I generally, I don't know. I don't like to base my advice on just making money. You know, it's because you'll make the most money when you have the passion behind it. You know, but does that make sense, man? Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. I want to find that place where both meet. You know, where both are possible. So it's not an either or thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, make a
yeah,
list then. Make a list and pick through them. You know, I mean, I always say. So actually, man, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So here's my little how to find your audiences in a nutshell, right? Okay. So you find a problem that you can solve, and then you find people that have that problem that don't annoy you. I'm serious. Like, imagine you go to poker night, right? Right. So you have poker night. I don't know if you play poker, but say you have poker night, right? And let's say you're really into reading books, okay? And everybody that you invite to poker night is like a book nerd. You guys do book readings. You're talking about books, right? So then your friend invites somebody who's like a, I don't know, freaking crazy extreme sports person who like doesn't, you know, read books, and she like grabs her snowboard and sticks it in the corner and sits down, and like maybe you guys are all like, I don't know, you're all one side of the political spectrum, so you invite a friend that's on the complete other side. You're probably not going to have a nice time, right? They're not going to have a nice time. You're not going to have a nice time. That's why you invite people to poker night, because poker night's supposed to be that time when you finally get to relax. You don't have to deal with the real world. You can just chill with your buddies, or maybe this is maybe a guy thing. I don't know, but you know, but you don't. The last thing you want to do at poker night is hang out with people that annoy you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I say, like, find people that have a problem that you can solve that don't annoy you. You know?
It's a great idea. I would just, because I have the NLP in me is like, it's funny. It's more comical to say people that don't annoy you, but I would say people that fill you up, right? So just
I know,
changing.
but I got it.
But you're hilarious. So.
I can't say
Yeah.
I'll let you say that.
Yeah, thank you.
I got to be the different one. So, does that make sense, brother?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you guys both. I really appreciate it. I was pretty nervous to come on, but definitely wanted to, because I'm just, you know, it's been a bit of a struggle lately, and I'm not wanting to give up here. So
Man,
I appreciate your time and expertise.
You're not failing. You know, what did Thomas Edison say? I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. You know, that's it, man. I mean, you know, failure is simply the data required for success. So right now you're already succeeding. You're just in the data gathering mode. And if you frame it that way and you redefine it that way, you're going to accomplish it. But it's all about the meaning that you give to it. So I think you're going to do great. You're qualified. You just got to find your thing that you're happy with. And you know, I used to give people advice based directly on what I think the market would respond to, and then I grew up a little bit and I realized that this is not helpful. Like, I got to tell them something that's really going to resonate with them, because they're just going to give up if they pick something they don't have passion for. So I really hope this was helpful, and I totally understand about being nervous. I was on Clubhouse one time, and Grant Cardone pulled me up to speak, and I was nervous. I'm like, oh crap, I hope I say something smart, you know. And then I was talking, and then he like cut me off, and like, you know, I was like, all right, well, you know. But I totally get it. I totally get it, brother. So good luck to you, man. And I'm sure you're absolutely gonna crush it. I mean, you know, how many people go as far to even do what you've done and get the credentials you've done and go that far and that deep in your industry and become a therapist? I mean, you're in the top 1% already. So you just got to push it a couple more decimal points.
Sounds good. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. You want to take one more?
Always.
Okay, you don't got to pee yet, do you?
No, did you?
Hey, this is pea chicken. We play pea chicken on this show. So my last show, Eric, who was on, in the middle of the show, it was hilarious. He's like, dude, can I go take a piss? And I was like, this is like a 2-hour show. That would make a lot of sense. By the way, strategically, it wasn't my manners. That's why there's no water out right now. That's why Brandon intentionally didn't put water out right now, because he wanted to avoid that. He's like, shit. Yeah, I call it pea chicken. Who will have to go first? You know, so. But I'm currently the reigning champion, so we'll see how this goes. But okay, so hold on, where's my number here? 813-474-9122. Do we have anybody in waiting, Brandon, or was that?
No, nobody in waiting, but we had a couple people ask for the number again, and there is a delay on the stream, so we just got to learn how to time that out, and we'll be good. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was starting to think no one was watching. Okay, 813-474-9122. We'll take one more call, and as you can see, we're willing to go deep.
And please text that number, guys. Don't try calling the number. Text in your question,
Yes,
and then
please.
I'll go ahead and call you.
Text in your question. So one more time, let's take a. I just want to thank our sponsors, which is ourself. So if you'd like to get some, if you like this show, and you want to have daily success mentoring, 5-minute audio every single day delivered right to your phone on the How to Think app, you can go to howtothink.com and sign up for our daily success mentoring. And we also have a business plan where you can get weekly business mentoring as well. And so I really would like to thank my sponsor. You're welcome. Oh, you're very welcome. You're a scholar and gentleman, sir. Well, thank you. So, all right. So, I can't do the boring thing. I just can't.
That's what makes it entertaining.
Yeah,
right.
well, I appreciate that.
You know, when my father used to cold call, he would do it in different accents.
Really? See
Yeah.
that? Now, see that's
He
I
would
always
straight
knew that
up.
with your dad.
He would start doing like a Scottish accent or do it like John Wayne. He'd like answer calls. So it's John Wayne. Yeah.
Can you do any of these?
Absolutely not.
Oh, that is such a lie. You have tried. I'm not saying that you did it as great as your dad. There's a lot, look, I'm not as good of a radio voice as my father. My father has literally like a angelic yet peanut butter thickness of a voice, and I cannot match it. So, but I still do my best. You can't do any of your dad's impressions or your accents.
No, but I do know that to build rapport with people that are in other countries or that speak different languages, I usually learn something really funny in their language, and then I share it with them, and it instantly builds rapport. So that's kind of my difference.
So how do you as a Canadian, how do you build rapport with Americans? You talk about the Kardashians, or
That doesn't work because they also speak English, but thank you.
I mean, I just meant more contextually.
Okay, so like when I was in Africa, right, climbing, the Africans looked so depressed as they were climbing up. They had these big bags on because they were carrying all of the weight. So I learned, which means, what's up, brother, like a banana in the fridge.
What?
Anytime I meet anybody that speaks Swahili,
Dude.
they laugh so freaking hard. Yeah.
The fact that you would even know that.
Yeah. You learn it in every language, so every place I go.
Scared. I would be too scared to say that. Like,
Well, so in Spanish, I know sacapuntas, cacahuates, and Estados Unidos, which is like pencil sharpener, cashews, and United States. Right? It just builds rapport instantaneously. So I don't do
so you intentionally say something that's nonsense.
totally random,
Got
really
it.
hilarious,
Wow,
and they
that's-
laugh, and instantly you feel like you're friends. This is how I've traveled around the world and made friends with people in every different
I'm
corner.
gonna steal that hack.
You should.
And I will give you full credit.
Please.
I'll be like, this is why I sound like an idiot. And Amanda Holmes told me to do this.
Okay.
All right, guys, we do have an Alex from Michigan on the line. Do you guys want to take this call?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah, we'll take Alex.
All right.
Alex from Michigan.
All right, Alex, you are on.
Oh, what's up, guys? I had a question because I would really love to start a business, but I felt that there were certain success blocks that were like holding me back, and so I had purchased the course so that maybe I could get over those success blocks before I could begin a business. How important do you feel that is to like get rid of your success blocks before you jump in and start trying to help other people with their problems? Because I would love to help people in the future that have that same issue get over it and have that success. It's just I don't know if my
my blocks are something I need to handle 1,000% first before, helping others.
So let me just clarify the question. You're saying that you want to start a business, but you have some blocks, you have some success blocks, and so you're working through that. You're whatever it is, buying a course, getting a coach, whatever it is, you're working on that, and you're saying that eventually you want to create a product that does that thing, and you're asking yourself, should you create it now, or when's the right time to create it? Because you're obviously still working on it with yourself. Is that the question?
Right, exactly. Like I've learned some things like that already. Like I know some things that could help people, but like, do you feel it's super important that I 1,000% make sure that I'm like over all that before I begin a course?
I mean, I know my answer to this. Do you have a...
This just isn't normally my world, which is interesting, and I have kind of strong feelings about it, which is interesting.
So do I. Let's trade perspective. Brandon, get me a sales question.
But I'm happy to like.
Well, you go ahead and share, and then I'll share.
So there's just a lot online today that says, here, let me train you on something that I've never done, right? And that's difficult. So you want to make sure it's things that you've done, right? And if you haven't done them, then go and do them, right? Or even modeling a master. So many people ask me, oh, how do you run a coaching company? Or how do I be a coach? Well, my response is go work for a company like mine. We have 300 certified coaches that have been trained in the Ultimate Sales Machine methodology, right? Learn from somebody that's already knocking it out of the park, do the due diligence, and then do it. So if you're still wondering, do I have something? Am I expertise enough? Become the expert where you're confident about it, and then you can share that, right? And it's okay if you're not starting your business right off. That's my own personal opinion. Coming from a coaching company, right, where all of our coaches have been business owners for decades, and
So I think that's an amazing perspective, and you're absolutely right. There's too many coaches out there that don't know what they're doing. I totally agree. However, I don't necessarily think. I think the real issue here, if I may, because it sounds like you really want to serve, you really want to help people, and your heart is close to this because you are experiencing it. Am I correct so far?
Right. I have that feeling of like I can do so much and I have so much potential, but like I feel stunted. And I realized that because I had bought like a course about making money, but I was like, I have something that's like holding me back, and I need to get over all of that so that I can have that success that I know I deserve, and I would love to get people out of that as well. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to have that like feeling of I'm not experienced enough in this to, give people advice because I do feel like I can help people.
Okay, so here's the thing. What it sounds like is the question, basically what it boils down to is, do I have the confidence to do this, and should I have the confidence to do this? Because at the end, like, first of all, understand that, you should never say to yourself, well, because I'm not the ultimate master at this, I cannot serve. I'm not saying you should say to yourself, I learned this 10 seconds ago, I should be able to serve. What I'm saying is that, personal development or anything is sort of like a stock. It goes up a bit, and then it goes down. It goes up a bit more, and then it goes down. It goes up a bit more, and then it goes down. So let's say you're dealing with an anger problem. And as life goes by, you get a little bit better at it. But then a challenging event happens, and you crash, just like a stock price crashes when a challenging event happens. If you get down on yourself about that, well, your stock will crash harder. But if you say, you know what, this is just a dip, just like it is in a stock, and you don't sell, you go up. And over time, yeah, you might go up and down, but the overall trend is an upward direction. That's true self-improvement, because nobody is going to constantly get better and only better. They're going to go up and they're going to go down. They're going to have spikes and they're going to have crashes. It's how you deal with the crashes and the dips that dictates the overall trend in which you go. So I'm not saying that if you're in a dip, that means you shouldn't do what you're doing. That's not what I'm saying. However, and this is my personal view on confidence, I don't believe you can build confidence. Anybody that tells you that you can build confidence, in my opinion, is full of shit. You can only build competence, because confidence comes from competence. So if you want to build confidence, you build competence, and as a complete byproduct, that's where you get your confidence. If you get into a boxing ring and you've never boxed a day in your life, and the other man at the end of that ring is a professional boxer, or even an amateur boxer, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have confidence. That doesn't mean you have a confidence problem. It means you're not an idiot, because you're going to get knocked out because you don't know how to box. But if you trained every day and you learned how to box, and then you got in there and you had confidence, it's because you built competence. And if you trained every day and you were good at boxing and you got in there and you still felt like you would lose, well, then now you have a confidence issue. And now it's not about building more confidence, it's about understanding the competence that you have. And so if you say to yourself, when's the right time for me to teach this? When's the right time for me to help people with this? It's simple. It's when you build enough competence to create the confidence you need to where you no longer have to ask the question.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I love that.
Cool.
Yeah, it does. As far as what Amanda was saying, how do you feel until I'm ready to start something of my own? What would you recommend to find opportunities that you can help serve under somebody else until that competence is, built, just so you can kind of get immersed in everything and still be helpful, but, not jumping into
model the
your own
masters. Absolutely. Modeling the masters. So find somebody that's doing something that you're really amazed by and find a way to work for them. Heck, work for them for free at the beginning. If you, whatever it takes to get in the door, find those people that have already mastered it so that you can get there faster.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, that was fun. That was fun.
Oh my gosh, the longest podcast I've ever done.
I know. I'm like that. Listen,
That's awesome.
I think, 'cause here's the thing. I think that a lot of times, whether it's a podcast or whatever, you delve into just one topic, one thing, and you just explore that one thing. And I always say, you got to explore what really makes a person tick and the different things that make them tick, and the different things that make up who they are, what they care about, what their core values are, because that shapes how we view things, and I don't ever try to judge anybody, right? Like I don't care what you do. I don't care if you do what you're into. You be into anything, right? As long as you're constantly, whatever that thing is, if you're using that as a way to achieve the highest version of yourself, I mean, that's all that matters. For some people it's this, for some people it's that, but at the end of the day, if you're always trying to grow and you're always trying to figure out better ways of thinking, because look, I just got I got a text from somebody that says, oh, when you started talking about marijuana and drugs, you lost a bunch of people. So I don't give a shit. Okay, and here's why. I was at a conference. We were at the same conference. Yeah. And somebody comes up to me and they say, Dan, I've been at this conference. This is my 3rd year, and I still haven't launched my company. I still haven't launched my website, but I'm almost there. What was your secret, right? Like, what did you do? What is your, routine and da-da-da-da-da? And I was like, dude, first of all, I was stoned the whole time I built my stuff. Like, what's your problem? You know what I mean? Like, but I said it jokingly, like to basically say, like, don't overthink it, right?
Yeah.
Like don't overthink it. Like it's and I wasn't. I was drinking coffee, but I was just messing with him. But I was like, so when you really want to drive yourself to do something, and you have a goal, and you're asking yourself, like, okay, how do I get motivated? Because to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. To me, there's 3 key metrics to being successful, right? It's motivation, confidence, and focus. Think of a time in your life where you achieved something great. All 3 things were present. You were motivated, you were confident, and you were focused. If you lack one of those things, if those 3 things aren't there at a high level and in unison, you're not going to be able to do it. Now you could say, well, what about growth? And well, that all falls within that. You know, if you're focused on something, you're going to grow. If you're motivated to do it, you're going to grow. If you're confident in what you're doing, you're going to grow. You know what I mean? So it really is, you know, if a car, if its engine is all gunked up and it's not going to move, you know, it's got to be optimal. It's got to be clean. And when a human being, when the human mind is motivated, is confident, and it is focused, it can, whatever the goal is, it can achieve it. So to me, the goal should always be to maintain a high level of confidence, a high level of motivation, and a high level of focus. And then whatever the goal is, however you define a success, you know, whatever success looks like to you, regardless if it's family, money, recognition, whatever, if you have those 3 things and they're present and they're at a high level, you will be able to achieve that a lot easier than if they weren't. I would love to hear your take on that.
Well, so we practice the same thing. My father called it pig-headed discipline and determination. You know what he wanted the title of this book to be? The Pig-Headed Executive Wins Every Time. And Penguin went, nobody will buy that book. And he's like, it's all through the book. How could it not be the pig-headed executive wins every time? They're like, it's going to be the ultimate sales machine. And he's like, oh, how could you dare call my book a sales machine? I talk about marketing. I talk about time management. I talk about effective meetings. I talk about, you know, presentations and follow-up. How could you just say it's a sales machine? And they're like, no, this will sell. Your pig-headed won't.
This sounds like I would get along very famously with your father, and then someone would probably, in my career, I've been given the same type of advice. Tian, you can't call it the Stoner's Guide to Success. You can't do that. Nobody's gonna buy that. A bunch of realtors who are watching are gonna get offended and they're gonna leave the live. Like that, you know, like that. No, like I can.
But
I can definitely see that.
When people read this, there's so many amazing pieces, page by page, but the biggest takeaway that I hear most often is that one thing, pig-headed discipline and determination. So I would say that that's similar to your 3 things.
Yeah,
it's the same theme.
It's I love it though. Pig-headed determination. I mean, it's true because some people just will not let things fail. It's like, no, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to fail. I'm just not going to let it fail. You know, and the second that you let that get in your mind that it could, that's when you failed. You know, you have to maintain that unwavering belief and commitment that it's not going to fail. And if it does, it's not even defined as failure. You just found another way not to succeed. You know, there's a quote that is by a very, very, a man I respect a lot. And I think that, you know, it also ties into this. The quote is, I believe it was, maturity is when you see.
Maturity is
when
when all your
windows turn
mirrors turn into windows.
Yes. When all your mirrors turn into windows.
Yeah.
Now, I believe your father said that.
Well, he's quoting Henry Thoreau, but
he
it's
is
one of his
okay.
favorite quotes.
It's one of his favorite quotes. Well, he said it
man.
so much that he owned it.
So much.
So-
As a child, I heard it so many times.
Well, then I need to ask you what it means to you, because if it's been ingrained in your brain 1,000 times, what does it mean? Like what does that mean to you?
I mean, I think of like when he would take me to business meetings and we'd all be sitting around the table, and it was almost as if it was a game of how many questions can we ask the person at the table? How can we better know the person? How do we understand how they tick and what makes them excited and what makes them passionate? So it wasn't about us talking about, you know, this is what I do. It's about really understanding the person sitting in front of you. So, yeah, when you take me back to my father saying that, I think of those times. We almost made it a game, you know? Until it became habitual, where you just want to understand the people around you and help them.
So we're coming up on, you're right, the longest podcast ever. Let me ask you something, and we'll end here.
Okay.
With Chet Holmes International, with what you guys do, where are you going? Well, you know, it's an amazing company. I know that you work with a lot of people. You offer coaching. You help increase sales. You help teach those 12 pillars, or as you called it, the 12
core competencies.
And so who would benefit from that? And is that, you know, where are we going to see, because you've already doubled your company over and over again. I mean, this is a two-part question. Number one, what inside your brain, your mind, drove you fundamentally to be able to double that? Somebody who came in who didn't even know what a freaking merchant account was, as you said before. I mean, how do you go from not knowing what a merchant account is to doubling sales year after year, not on a tactical level, but on a high strategic level? And as well, what is the next thing, you know? Because, I mean, if a company wants to increase their sales, right? What kind of company would work with you?
Okay.
Why
You've
are you
asked
so
so
good?
many
I know,
questions
I
here.
know.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it in because we're ending. So I just want to, you know, I just want to make sure that I truly understand what makes you tick.
Yeah. At the very beginning, knowing my father's principles, I learned them like everyone else. I picked up this book. I read it 1,000,000 times over. I watched his videos over and over and over and over again, because mastery isn't about doing 4,000 different things, right? If you just refine those few skill sets, then you'll get better and better and better, right? We have clients that have done the Dream 100 and grown 40% year over year for a decade. They went from 6 figures to 8 figures because they just refined how they get their dream clients, right? Time management secrets of billionaires. Majority of people do not manage their time appropriately. It's absurd. But billionaires have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just they're working smarter at their time rather than harder, right? So I had this framework of what to focus on. But then there was also the piece of what I've learned from my guru, which is, who am I? What makes me tick? How do I differentiate myself from my father and really come from that place of, what do I want from my company? So the framework of how to build a company, and then the framework of me as an individual and what makes me tick. I think those combination helped me then.
So once you knew you, then you could do you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's still a process. Knowing you is many layers, but I've done a lot to better understand that.
So if to anybody listening who, you know, has read the book or thought about working with you guys, I would say this. If I could sum up what you're saying, is that right now in business, especially in like online business, every time a company has a problem, they do the same thing. They look for another option. They look for another method, a new way, not because that's what's going to solve the problem, because it makes them feel good. Because when you start fresh on something, well, now it's okay to fail initially because, you know, it's new, and I'll just go to the new thing. It's just easy. I'll just do the new thing. That feels good. But to double down on the thing that isn't working, just because you haven't mastered it, that's a harder pill to swallow. And the fact that you said that, you know, you've helped your clients go from 6 figures to high 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures, and it wasn't about learning new tactics necessarily.
Right.
It was about going deep on the mastery of the core fundamental tactics that you do know. I mean, the Dream 100, the which is one of your 12. I mean, that is something that if done well. I mean, I know companies that make that their primary method of acquisition.
Yep.
And while everybody else is like, well, I sent a piece of mail to somebody and I didn't get a response, so I'm gonna go over here and try to grow my Instagram and you know, buy some shout out followers. You know, it's like, dude, you know, like you sent out 1 or 2 pieces of mail, and so I believe the right person, correct me if I'm wrong, the right person to work with you guys is somebody who understands that if they work with the best, then they can achieve a level of mastery in something that has worked, will always work, it will continue to work, and they don't need to play in the shiny object room and just, you know, one day they wake up and they're in a nursing home and they're still trying to figure out how to grow their company. And it's not a good nursing home. It's one of those nursing homes where the orderlies beat you, you know, and because you couldn't afford the nicer one, you know, with the like the golf carts.
It's
and
a
shit.
real thing.
It's a real thing, you know. But that's the reality of things is when you don't hit your goals, I mean, look,
I can give some market data.
what kind of market data?
95% of businesses never make above $1 million in annual sales. Of that, 1.5% make it to 5 mil. And of that, 0.004% ever make it to 100 million and beyond. So
Give me that last stat again.
0.004% ever make it to 100 million and beyond.
And do you think that 0.004% did that by constantly looking for a new way to market, or by doubling down?
That is the point. To get from 1 million to 5, from 5 to 10, from 10 to 100 takes a different skill set every step of the way. What brought you, so a lot of people, maybe they can strong arm their way to 1 million, but to get from 1 million to 5 million takes a different skill set, right? But it's all within what we've proven of the 12 core competencies, right?
Do you need to master all 12?
Usually it's just one that will help you double your sales, but it's finding which of the 12 it is and then diving deep on it.
Awesome. So where can people go to learn more about these 12 core competencies besides the book? Which, if you don't have the book, my God, get the book.
Right,
Look,
the
it's
book.
red. Let me see the book.
Yeah.
It's red.
UltimateSalesMachine.com. You can actually get chapter 4 for free.
You can't.
It's nice.
You can't miss it. It's, you know how like you go to a stop sign. You know why they make them red? So that you don't miss it. The book's red. You can't miss it. Go get the book.
I would recommend ChetHolmes.com. ChetHolmes.com we have 3 videos that help you double your sales in 1 hour a week. So.
Well, now I want to go watch the videos.
Yeah, they're good.
So, Amanda, thank you for coming on here and putting up with me.
We had a great time. We went through a rabbit hole. I'm looking forward to seeing what comments came from this.
Oh yeah, I wait to see the comments after and see how many people like freaked out or no longer follow me or whatever. You know, but I like to have fun with this. You know, I don't like to do this. I like to zig when they zag. So, but it sounds like you can appreciate that. So this was so much fun, and I hope it was a little bit more entertaining for you than your normal podcast.
Oh, it was great. So I was doing market data recently. Again, I'm a research firm, right? 80% of people that listen to podcasts listen to majority of them, and the average podcast is 43 minutes long. So you have a brilliant strategy here of like, yes, I can keep people for 2 hours. I bet I can, and I know that you can. And knowing that you'll keep the majority of the way is speaking to your brilliance. So good job there.
Well, hopefully I can live up to that. I'll have to check the stats after. I hope she was right. We'll see.
Time will tell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and look, if I go down a bunch of roads and I look at the stats and the retention goes down, I just won't turn down those roads anymore. I'll just I'll go this way. You know, thank you so much for coming on.
Such a pleasure.
ChetHolmes.com. And get the frickin' book. Get the book. If you haven't read the book, get the book.
That's the way to go.
Get the book, you
Start
know?
there.
And then go to ChetHolmes.com. Or do both. Go to ChetHolmes.com while you're waiting for the book. Thank you again so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
I don't think I can reach you. It's like E.T.
I know. I need to get a shorter table. I've learned this very quickly. So we'll figure it out. Thank you so much for coming on. We need to do it again.
I love it.
All right. Maybe I'll stop by your place in Clearwater. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not committing. But
What if I go with you, Dan?
oh, see peer pressure. Now you're just giving me peer pressure. Oh boy. Maybe we'll see. If we do, then I definitely have to have you back on. I might be sitting here in a row praying and
Oh my
I don't know.
gosh.
I'm just messing.
hilarious.
No, I could see where it would be an incredibly life-changing experience. And where can they go to learn more about that? I think that's important too.
DivineBlissInternational.org. And divine spelt with an I, Divine.
All right. Amanda,